Hello, this is a study guide video. Basically, for the test, it's going to talk a little bit about Cold War events, and it's also going to focus mainly on the partition of India. So if you see a question asking you about, the partition of India, why did the British partition India? The big thing is because of the extreme violence between Hindus and Muslims. Another statement, Mohandas Gandhi, what was his response to British imperialism? Well, Gandhi's response was not to get violent, but to do non-cooperation and non-violence. Another big thing, Gandhi and his supporters, and if you take a look with Gandhi and his supporters, they wanted to develop an economic alliance for all South Asian nations. They wanted the Asian nations to basically help each other economically. Primary source, that would be a first-hand account. So a first-hand account would be a diary entry, like a Hindu participant in the Salt March from his diary. That would be a primary source. Biggest factor when the British decided to partition India was because the tensions between the Hindus and the Muslims, the two different religious groups. That was why they partitioned India and Pakistan. The Truman Doctrine, this is getting back to the Cold War, and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, were United States' responses to the communist threat after World War II. We were very afraid that communism would spread all over the world, so we made our own military alliance, NATO. Which change occurred immediately after the British partition of India and Indian independence in 1947? Well, an immediate change was the areas partitioned into two separate states. Pakistan was created as a homeland for Muslims, and India was created as a homeland for Hindus. Which statement completes the outline below? Well, if you got an outline that talks about the Korean War, East and West Berlin, and strategic arm limitation talks or the SALT treaties, these would all be results of the Cold War events. And once again, India got divisioned, Yugoslavia gets divisioned. Why were they divisioned? Why were they divided? They were divided because of ethnic or religious differences. Historic events in India. What's one of the big things is what happened first. There was a caste system in India that goes back to ancient times that put people all in a certain social group. Then the British colonize India and take total control. And then Gandhi led the Salt March in protest, and finally India is partitioned into two countries. That would be the correct order of events. Gandhi tried to bring the injustices of the British to the world so the world could see. The Salt March basically helped him do that. Next, the British rule in India comes to an end. The Hindus and the Muslims, there's a big clash, but to sort of give the Muslims a separate area to live, Pakistan was created as a separate nation, as a Muslim homeland. And India is going to be a Hindu homeland. Next, accurate definition of detente. Between the US and the Soviet Union, it's basically a reduction in Cold War tensions. 19th century was a century of unification, but the 20th has been a century of partition. This would be applying to Germany. Germany was unified in the 19th century, but it was partitioned in the 20th century. Which statement explains British India, why it was partitioned in 1947? India was partitioned due to political and religious differences. Another big thing, splitting up the Indian subcontinent. Why? Because of religious differences between the Hindus and the Muslims. India is partitioned because the Hindus and the Muslims couldn't really get along, and there's a lot of violence. So India is going to be partitioned into Pakistan for Muslims and India for Hindus. And India, the larger one, is going to be given to the Hindu majority. Well, the smaller area of land, Pakistan, is going to be given to the Muslim minority. Okay, so just know that partition was basically done because of the differences between Hindus and Muslims. Watch this a few times, take that test on Clever, use the Castle Learning app, and good luck.